The season is over and the MxGP paddock is silent, awnings down, trucks locked, mechanics finally sleeping in their own beds. Yet two of the sport's biggest engines are still idling at high RPM, despite having nowhere to ride, Jeffrey Herlings and Tim Gajser. Both want a clean reboot. Both want to start mapping 2026 now, not later. And both are discovering that the biggest obstacle in their way isn't fitness, form, or even arrival, it's paperwork. The sport has drifted a long way from the handshake era. Modern contracts read like small novels, sunset clauses, testing embargoes, image use restrictions, competing brand limitations, sponsor carve-outs, and non-disparagement language that makes even a casual Instagram caption feel like stepping through a minefield. Teams will say this is just smart business. Protect the investment, control the narrative, avoid mid-season poaching. Riders, when you get them off the record, will tell you it feels like being benched in your own career. That's the bind Herlings finds himself in now. After a tense final chapter with KTM and a decision to look elsewhere, the relationship cooled to room temperature. The result is a hard wall. No Honda testing, no setup time, not even a quiet shakedown day on a forgotten practice track. Until December 31st, the Bullet is effectively parked, left to keep the muscles warm on a standard KTM while the calendar crawls toward midnight. For a rider whose competitive identity is built on relentless rhythm and sand-track savagery, this is stasis bordering on cruelty. Momentum is his superpower. Enforced idleness is its opposite. Gajser's constraint is similar in shape, if not in texture. His long partnership with Honda Garibaldi carried trophies and scars in equal measure, and the final months were burdened by the usual endgame friction: money, direction, control. The documents say mutual decision. The body language hinted at something sharper. Yamaha, by all accounts, laid the runway, test plan, crew alignment, even U.S. mileage penciled in, but the same winter embargo applies. No laps, no mapping, no chassis feel, no muscle memory on the 450 that's supposed to carry him into the next phase. You can draw a dream in a notebook. You can't bed in a front end on a spreadsheet. Skeptics will argue the delay is marginal. 4 to 6 weeks in December doesn't decide a 19-round season. On paper, fair enough. In the real world of MxGP, winter is where seasons are quietly won and noisily lost. New platform? You need days to find the window, that narrow range where chassis attitude, power delivery, and rider timing align. New team? You need reps to build trust with a crew chief, a data tech, and a suspension whisperer who can translate "it dances on entry" into a stack shim change and a clicker move. New brand ecosystem? You need to learn what their racing culture truly values when the stopwatch and the sponsor deck disagree. All of that takes laps, conversations, mistakes, and small eureka moments that only happen when you're allowed to work. Meanwhile, rivals are already working. If you're a title threat staying on the same color, you've been testing since the transporters rolled home. The first 2 February rounds are famously treacherous. Cool temperatures, choppy square edge, starts that punish anyone 1% off their mark. If you begin the year still learning the motorcycle's language while others are speaking it fluently, you spend March and April paying off January's debt. There's also the political economy of these moves. A rider changing brands isn't just swapping plastics. He's stepping into a sponsor architecture with competing interests. Energy drink A and energy drink B. Hard goods C versus D. Apparel contracts that include content deliverables and launch windows. These are the invisible strings pulling at the December calendar. No brand wants to foot the bill for months of R&D work while their logo remains hidden by a contractual gag order. So everyone waits. The irony is brutal. The new employer pays to be ready as early as possible. The old employer pays to make sure early never happens. Where does that leave 2026? Intriguing and volatile. Herlings on a fresh platform with pent-up aggression is a terrifying proposition, provided the on-bike connection is real and fast. If he hits the window quickly in January testing, the lost weeks become a footnote, and his pace returns like a storm front. If the first impressions are murky, he'll burn valuable early rounds chasing feel while the points bleed. Gajser is a different equation. His strength is metronomic control, the ability to turn average days into high-scoring days and great days into statement wins. That trait travels well across brands, but it still requires a base map of trust in the motorcycle. Deny him the ramp, and you risk turning the first third of the season into a diagnostic session. There's also a broader, uneasy question. Are the sport's thickening contracts actually improving competitive integrity or simply shifting power from bikes to binders? Teams will argue they're protecting IP and stabilizing rosters. Maybe. But when two generational talents are forced to idle through the exact window that determines whether they start the season at 96% or 100, the fan loses, the racing product dulls, and the sport leans a little further into off-track lawyering as a competitive tool. Speculation cuts both ways. It's possible the forced pause sharpens both men. Time away from the noise can distill priorities, and a late start can produce a cleaner, more decisive test phase, fewer experiments, more conviction. It's also possible that others' heads start proves decisive, and by the time Herlings and Gajser are fully synchronized with their new packages, the title shape has already hardened. MxGP rarely hands back the points you gave away in spring. What's certain is the narrative torque. 2 multiple champions, 2 new colors, 2 testing embargoes, 1 ticking clock. The paddock may be empty, but the season has already started, just not on the track. Contracts 1 October and November. December decides how much of January they get to own. And when the gate finally drops, we'll find out whether bureaucracy merely slowed 2 greats or meaningfully altered the balance of power for 2026.